audio. And give it just a second here. Not yet.
These tires I shredded off personally.
Those are all your tires here for our table. Hey everybody, welcome back to Team O'Neill. I'm Chris Sear. I'm the CEO and partnered with my partner and founder of the Rally School, Tim O'Neill here. We've done a few breaking down the rally videos, and we wanted to actually work with you guys or talk with you guys live. So Tim and I are going to talk about our experience here in Pennsylvania last week, but we also love to get your guys' comments, hear any questions that you guys have. Doesn't even necessarily need to be on this topic if you have any questions for us. But we figured we can talk a little bit about our experience this last weekend. We had another amazing adventure, had things happen where, I learned a lot and things I didn't expect to have happen. So we can talk a little bit about that. And also too, this is a little bit of a preview for the video we just posted. So if you guys want to go out and watch what happened to me at the rally, that's on the YouTube channel now live. So go ahead and watch that video as well and throw some questions or comments in the comment section here. So Tim, Pennsylvania, that's been a rally for a while. It's been a part of the national series
45, 50 years, something like that.
Your whole time you've been rallying.
The first time was 85, I think.
Okay. And what are your thoughts from the history of Pennsylvania? Have you had other experiences, good or bad, in Pennsylvania before this one?
Oh, I have both, yes. Mostly bad, no. What I always remember is really fast straightaways, really tight hairpins with different kinds of mud. And when the clay gets wet, it packs up the tires. And you really need to be ready. You can't just lightly go into turns. You need to be hard on the brakes, turn in, hard on the gas, and that sort of scrapes off the clay and gets the mud out of the tires. And the thing I used to like most was STPR was at night.
Oh,
and
okay.
The Forest Service, or whatever reasons, they don't want us in there at night, and it's very hard to get night rallies. But the first time I remember STPR, I was in a Saab, and it got over at 7 in the morning.
Whoa.
And, of course, after a rally, you're thirsty, so you start drinking beer after being up for a day. And it was just so tiring and, falling asleep going home. And,
Sure.
It's a lot more civilized now.
Yeah.
But as you can tell, there's still a lot of things to catch you out.
Yeah.
I see that you was doing really well. And then you got onto that muddy, grassy, slippery. It was slipperier than snow.
Yeah, for sure.
And
it was legitimate. It felt like ice. Like the car just kept moving, and it felt like it got faster going uphill with the wheels weren't spinning. So
right. You hit the brakes and you go faster.
Yeah,
I did that. And I found myself doing that. I come in, brake too hard, lock them up and let off the brake, and then turn in and hit the gas, and it goes around the corner. It's totally opposite of what your natural instincts are.
Right. Yeah, and I learned a lot, and we'll talk a little bit about that here in a bit. But so your Saab experience at night, I'm sure getting the rally lights right and figuring out all that. Like, what are some of your memories from the old days of, the old technology and having to go do that?
Well, actually, the good example of old technology was the driving lights. Big Bosch or Hella lights. They took a lot of current out of the alternators.
Oh, okay.
But you were able to see the differences in the shine on the mud and the clay in this brown. Is it dark brown or light brown or tan colored or red? So you got all these different kind of clays. Well, the modern LED lights don't really do that. They just
white everything.
Blast everything everything's kind of grayish, and you can't really tell the difference. I noticed at LSPR was the same way.
Huh.
So I'm a little bit old school in the lights still.
Okay.
Just get a bigger alternator, and they're heavy and they probably block.
Cool.
Yeah, they look
cool.
cool.
Lights just look so good.
Yeah.
Especially on your rig, the old AMX with the old school lights.
Right. Yeah. So I'm like old school like that. Another thing is tire selection. You got to have soft compound for mud.
Yeah.
You got to open them up for mud. Even the mud tires, you could probably work them a little bit more. For me, I found it interesting that I had one type of tire, the Yokohama, I put on, and I thought they weren't very good. But at the end of the rally, I realized I went a half a minute faster than the time before. So I thought the tires were no good, but they were half a minute a stage faster.
Wow.
So it's like what you noticed in testing. What you thought was better wasn't, and what you thought was terrible was way better.
And I think it was because I was going faster, so I was actually slipping at the corners.
Exactly.
And so I thought I was slower, but it was actually because I was going faster than I realized, and I'm slipping off the road almost.
Right. That's why the stopwatch never lies. Right. That's why you always, when you're doing testing, tire testing, or anytime, you have to make sure you cross-check what you think is better is actually better.
Right.
Because it might not be.
So Pennsylvania this year, we both got a chance to race. It's a regional rally this year, so there wasn't a lot of the top teams, right? Some of the more fast regional guys were there, but I got a chance to start second on the road. You were fourth on the road. You brought your AMX out. You get to decide between your Volkswagen or your
which weapon of choice.
So that or your Mitsubishi that you're working with. So you came out with the AMX. You also have a new co-driver. So you're training and working with Kate to teach her the ropes and figure out how to be a co-driver. So this was her first full rally.
Oh yeah,
right?
No, the first rally she did was the super whatever we call it
rally
now,
sprint,
rally
gravel
sprint,
trial.
gravel trials at Team O'Neill. And, I know the road, so I kind of was cheating a little bit by not really listening as much as I could have.
Sure.
Then we did a TSD rally,
nice.
and that helped her with the navigate. And then she went to the Team O'Neill rally co-driver school, and all of that helped a lot. And then all the information online, books. There was one book that I had for co-driving, and so all of that.
Book.
No, this was one that Pete let me borrow. It was one of 3 series you can buy in Europe.
Oh, cool.
And she's so smart. She's a high school science teacher, right? Nice. So she's a little genius.
Nice.
And she loves this, and she's a perfectionist, and I think that helps.
Right.
So when she's trying to get it perfect, out there, it's like, where does that tighten? Some of these really long turns tighten really late.
Yeah.
That's really important to know where that is.
Right.
And another thing is penalties. Like, it's easy for me. If you have me as your co-driver, I will get you penalties. I will check in early, late, never check in, not find a place, get lost. Don't
go off route.
Right. Never once.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
For her
no penalties first time. Didn't get sick.
Wow.
And so I'm very impressed. And some people like KJ Miller and you're in Glenn, the newer co-drivers, I was really surprised how good they get. They all go to co-driving school. Yeah. They all work hard. The old days I had old Canadian engineers, and they'd been doing it for 40 years, and that was what you did. You got them. But now with smartphones and the modern technology, and there's so much information out now, it no longer need to have the 80-year-old engineer in there.
Right.
You can have the 120-pound science teacher.
Right.
It's really interesting to see how those dynamics have changed.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this even just as a dynamic of rally going from the kind of actual, not the pace note system, but the
Gemba notes?
Well, before Gemba notes, just getting rally notes, stage notes, right? And so now you're going to a pace note system, and it's... Even Travis Hansen and I were talking about this, and it was kind of pace notes were fairly new to him, and you can decide if you were going to do Gemba or not even do Recce, and like now it's pretty much if you want to be fast.
Oh, you have to have them.
You have to have them.
Even using Gemba with numeric, they used to have numeric and descriptive.
Right.
Now they just have numeric.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so important. And I remember one time David Higgins, co-driver, got sick, and he had another chance to get another co-driver. He's like, nope. He withdrew from the rally. That's how important having the right navigator on the right notes is. He cannot go absolutely flat out around those corners without that guy using the system that he likes.
Right. Yeah, and I'm already starting to see it working with Glenn. 4 or 5 rallies now, or maybe it's only 3 or 4. But yeah, it's like it's scary to think about getting in with
Without
another
him.
because he's starting to learn all of my intricacies, and he'll question some of my calls, and we get to negotiate some of those. Should we have that?
2 minds are better than one.
Right.
And I found that really important for me because like sometimes when I'm doing recce, because it's mostly about what I think the corner is, and I need to really know what I want to hear and then explain to the co-driver. A lot of people miss that. They think it's all the co-driver coming up with this. No, you need to practice so much so you know exactly what you want. And then if you say something and then like, well, wait a minute, didn't you like this? And like, oh yeah, right. What you said. Yeah, you do it. They catch me all the time.
So Pennsylvania was Friday, the race day Friday, race day Saturday. Friday was like perfect weather, perfect temperatures for me anyways. We have the waste management jump and the waste management stage, and the roads are smooth. I don't remember even a rough stage at all on Friday. So yeah, what did you had an issue, right? So first stage you get out there, you're kind of stuck in
I have lots of issues, but yes, my automotive issue for Friday was my shifter. I have a race car, stock car shifter, and it's in the dirt.
Yeah.
And it's not a good idea. And we sprayed it down multiple times with dry lubricant, and that's had been working. But for some reason, that first stage on Friday had that crushed granite or whatever it was, and that dust got up in there, and it seized that up, and it was like fourth gear only.
On stage, you got
So I finished the stage in fourth gear, and then coasted and tried to drive on the transit, and there's a steep hill, and it was like you're not taking off in fourth gear, not many times anyway, before you ruin the clutch.
Right.
So they just sprayed it down with different kind of wet lube, and that was the only real problem I had the whole weekend.
Okay. Yeah, I was literally right behind you, and you pull off the road, and I figured you were just doing something quickly, and then we get to the stage, and I'm talked to Glenn, and I'm like, Tim's not back. I'm like, I was worried it was another overheating issue because you've spent so much time and effort on trying to get that engine.
Fixed that.
So that's great. I was so happy to hear that it was actually something so simple.
Right. It was the kind of a letdown, It's
Right.
like, okay, we're done. And then the mechanic shows up and, okay, we're back in. Just a squirt of oil on the shifter. That's all it took. But I was driving down the road trying to unscrew my shift boot, and I got it all apart, and it was like I couldn't, with all my might, I could not get it out of fourth gear.
Wow.
And just a little spray, and it shifts like new.
Huh.
So it was just, I remember at Pennsylvania, the Subaru guys, they were testing an area, and it had coal dust or shale dust, and they in 2 or 3 of the cars, all of them within a few miles of the start, I think, clutch stopped working. It just, all those, that certain kind of dust got into that clutch, which was probably kind of very expensive and very nice. And in some cases on rally, you don't want the best and most expensive part. Right. You might want something that's a little loose and floppy, so if it gets dust or dirt, it doesn't like seize up.
The AK-47 of solutions.
Exactly. It's exactly versus the AR.
Yeah. Okay. So you got to go out and finish some more stages on Friday just for fun, because Super Rally rules don't allow you to re-enter the same day. But the organizers let you go and just race those stages, but the times show that you had the bogey time, right?
Yeah.
So you went out and got to work with Kate some more, and no pressure of really having any actual need
just
to finish.
Have a little fun and learn some more.
Yeah. So that was great. I'm sure you guys got a chance. And luckily for me, you were actually out there, because in the second half of Friday, I started to have issues with my car. It was ended up being one of the control arm bolts was getting loose, so
That's
I could feel it in the corners. My steering started to wobble, and I didn't know what it was. And we actually have some pictures of you looking at my car.
I'm your traveling mechanic.
Yeah, so it was like
it's not considered outside assistance.
No,
you did not know I would be there.
It was awesome that you were, though, because every time I have a problem, I'm like, "Where's Tim?" And if you're not physically there, I'm going to give you a call. But yeah, so you're looking under my car, and we were trying to figure it out, and the car was driving really well, so it was just like one of those things I didn't know if I should keep pushing, and I ended up pushing and being fine. But we get it back to service, and they had to replace that bolt because it had been torqued so many times it stretched the bolt enough that it was just in the corners, the car would start to dart around a little bit. No, it's not confidence inspiring, but that was my only issue Friday. Really felt like Glenn and I put a really good rally together. We started doing descriptive notes in the corners. So I've got a half long, very long, and that's really helping me have the confidence around the corner to, and the tightens and getting the tightens and opens correct.
Where does it tighten?
And knowing how to kind of drive to commit to those corners. So I felt like we really put that all together on Friday. There was one issue where there was like a 5 and it tightened into a turn right 3. And I missed the distance on that one. So I almost missed that corner and we kind of went in backwards, but we made it. That was the only kind of close call on Friday.
Isn't that amazing how much that distance between the turns, especially when it tightens?
Yeah.
It's so important because if you want to go fast, you can stay on it much longer if you trust that.
Right.
But if you don't have it right and your notes aren't so good and you try to go fast and then it tightens, you can't see it until it's too late.
Right. Yeah, and usually my problem is I'm diving back in, so I'm
early.
I'm in early, and then it tightens more, and I've got nothing less.
Right.
That's how I crashed in Tennessee.
You got to stay out.
And I'm learning that now for sure, because I've now crashed probably 2 or 3 times in corners, and crash meaning like hit the berm on the outside and kept going. Like never had a
that
big
would
crash.
be considered bumping. As long as you didn't, but you bent your rear beam.
Yeah, I've bent a
So
beam.
technically, it was more than a bump.
I got the flat tire. The Tennessee crash, I started the forest on. That was a crash. I
started the forest
on fire. All these videos are on our YouTube channel if you guys want to go and watch all that. That we've done videos on each one of those incidents, but
nothing to see here.
I've been trying to learn my lessons so that
humility.
Yeah,
that's one thing I like most about Chris Sears. He is willing to admit he screwed up. First thing he says, "What did I do wrong? What happened? How did I screw this one up?" We had a little problem with the notes. I liked where anytime you drop from like a 6 to a 2 or a 1, or anytime you big drop, I put braking before on the corner before. So it's a right 6 into a 2. I put braking 6. There was only one spot we missed that, and I almost crashed. I came in. It was a 3. It was a 6 into a 5 into a distance. Into a 3, and we didn't put the braking like I normally have, and I got lucky. I turned, I let off the brake and turned, and it came right to the edge of the road and turned. But there was only one out of the all those notes, and we would go through when I work with a co-driver. I try to fix all those first. Whatever, I'm going to make the note so I won't crash.
Yeah.
It may not make me faster,
right,
but I know where to slow down. Yeah. So in my head, it's everywhere's flat out except for those places where I put a braking. That tells me that's where I've got to get rid of like 40, 50 miles an hour.
Yeah. I've noticed for me, it's the tightens that are the things that keep catching me out. So we added, Glenn says my name, Chris, left 6. I was like, okay, so there's something fast. And then it's tightens even 5, 4, 3,
and you stay concentrated all through the 6, waiting. Right. Where is that? Okay, right. There it is.
Yeah.
And honestly, I destroyed most of my cars on those.
On a Titans.
And in Finland, when I was in Finland many years ago, I learned here caution, care, a guttural sound.
Yeah. My name works well for a good snap.
Right.
Right.
And if you're really bad, it's going to be Christopher. It's too many syllables, but
if we had enough time for it. Let's see if we have any questions.
It's funny. It's interesting. When you hear your name spoken, your full name, but whatever name your mother called you just before she slapped you and said you were being bad, you always listen more carefully when it's like Timothy, huh? Right.
Did you hear about Rovanpera going to win Poland and he only got like half recce?
Right.
And so one of the comments here was talking about how amazing that was, and I was trying to think about coming into a rally, doing the same situation like he did and be able to commit to the notes. I can't imagine he was just scared and hoping he got it right. Like he probably has the confidence before that he knew he had it right.
Good. He knows exactly what he wants to hear, how he wants to hear it. Those guys could do a 1-pass recce and probably make it.
It's just amazing to think about. And I actually tried to use Jemba this weekend and do 1-pass recce, and I got 10 minutes into it, and I was like, I can't. The amount of time we were having to spend changing the notes to make it the way I want, I'm already at a point where I can't use something else. as a starting point.
That's a good thing. I think
so
that's a good thing.
I like it, but it's scaring me. Well, not scaring me, but it just means I have to spend the effort in the beginning. Like I can't shortcut the recce part for me to drive at that level. And I also am not a good enough driver to turn down enough. Like if my notes aren't good enough, can I drive slow enough to still stay on the road? But we've talked a lot about that. How do you slow your pace and your mind?
Well, right. That's where maybe you had your problem. Was a couple things is you need to slow down when you're ahead,
right?
But don't slow down mentally.
Right.
And generally, when you slow down your physical vehicle, you slow mentally, and that's when you make a mistake.
Yeah.
I find, I go faster towards the end of the rally. I'm always faster. And some people say I'm sandbagging, but it's so because it takes me time to get the right rhythm, to get the car right, get the co-driver, get the notes right. And when everything is right, I don't mind. I can go flat out.
Yeah.
So you're better off because you're doing 2-pass recce, writing your own notes. You can start flat out right from the start.
Right.
So there's a big advantage.
Really, both all of Ohio and Pennsylvania. I crashed here in Pennsylvania. If you guys haven't seen that video yet, and I'm crashing towards the end of the second day. So it's either my stamina or
anticipation,
a little bit of the confidence that I'm doing really well and getting to the point of might have a good finish. I don't know. I haven't quite figured it out.
Well, the other variable was you got onto that wet, muddy grass, and you kind of needed to go front-wheel drive, winter, slippery condition mode. Because I noticed when I got up there, it was just like driving in the snow. Right. It's just so low a grip, and your tires are packed with mud, and you're on wet grass with packed tires. It's like, yeah. So it may have been also when you realized you were going off, you might have like seized up a little and
I think I did.
Not really done anything. Just kind of like, oh no.
Looking at my feet, I come over this little brow. It's just enough to I can see in the video that my car moves up. So there's a little bit of loose of suspension.
Oh yeah, it gets light.
Right then is when I clutch into shift.
Oh, instead of brake more.
And I never release the clutch all the way to hitting the tree. So that means I'm like waiting for the engine to stall, right? Move. And so my foot, if you look and see my foot in that video, my foot goes into the clutch when it goes over this little crest, little brow, and it never comes back off.
Foot brake. Oh, rookie.
And my driving foot, my right foot goes between the brake and the gas there for a half a second too. So it's like I'm not sure what to do. And then I think too, because then I look at the tree, I'm just accepted in my mind in that half a second moment, I'm gonna hit this tree. Rather than the confidence and ignorance to look beyond the tree and like
you got off on the edge. Yeah.
So, I not sure for sure, but I'm pretty confident at this point watching it over and over and over and thinking about it over and over and over. I just that half second of looking in the wrong spot, not committing to that, and even noting the brow, and right. Glenn and I talked about these micro brows and the little bit of where my suspension gets light. I'm not noting every one of them, but I'm in different recce cars every time. Ohio, we recce'd in the Bronco.
Yeah, that's no good. You're going to be at the same eye height.
Right. So I'm
pretty sure
these things are starting to matter for me.
When you got on the grass with your left front wheel, and you because of the grass lightened up, what I think maybe would have been better for you was add the brake a little, stay on the gas and add the brake and just turn and try to left foot brake it like you're trying to make it turn with the brake.
Yeah.
Because off the gas and clutch in, you can't be neutral. It won't work because of that sort of thing. I know I had a hard time. Mine was rear wheel drive, and I just like eased off the gas and like drove with like my two little fingers, like careful. And I don't know. I don't know what I did, but I knew I was kind of, in a way, thankful for you crashing because I slowed down just enough because it was a corner after I went by you that it was sketchy.
Yeah.
Where you spun out the first time. I spun out
the first time. And I knew that too. And Glenn had the note right before it's slippy, and he says it. And so and we passed the guys from Maine that crashed. So they crashed right there. I just passed them. And I watched the video of my first pass. So I'm going the exact same speed in that section, but I just needed to go 2 miles an hour slower, like just a little bit slower,
or ride the brake more.
or well, and obviously to the way where I was trying to shift, and all the other things like compiled at the worst case scenario moment in time for me. But yeah, no, I've thought about this moment a lot, and like, I don't think it was a note error. I think we had all the right data available to me in that moment. It's just that decision making of, pushing a little harder.
Flawed human.
Try to,
That's worse.
Squeeze as
We
much.
can fix flawed human though.
I knew, and the other only maybe flaw variable thing I could have done different is I knew I was fast. That was the fastest. I won that stage overall the first pass through.
Well, you knew that.
Because I was like, Glenn, afterwards, I'm like, Glenn, I felt like I was pushing. How did I do? And he's like, you won this stage. So I knew that. And so it was like, I think I had that I need to do it again type of thing. And
yeah,
Dylan ended up not having any comms. So it's like, of course I'm going to beat him, because he couldn't even hear Dan, and they're sitting in the car and they're trying to get through that stage on hand signals. So
That's not
I
easy.
won because I won because it was not necessarily I was actually the fastest. The guy in front of me ended up having an issue. It just made me...
One of my questions was, did you pass the spot of the burnt Fiesta?
So it wasn't, that stage wasn't here,
Oh.
but I thought about it all rally. So the other thing that's happened, if you guys haven't seen the video, is in 2017, my very first rally ever, the first stage of Saturday of that rally, I ended up burning my car completely to the ground. Your car, actually. So before Tim and I became business partners and he let me borrow his Fiesta R1, I burnt that car to the ground. Stage 1 Friday morning, my rear brakes get locked in STPR this weekend, and I smell burning. First mile, first
trauma.
stage. I had to say repeat to Glenn probably 6
You
or
couldn't
7
pay
times.
attention.
I could not pay attention. And at the end of the stage, he's like, what did I screw up? Like, what? I'm like, did you not smell that burning smell? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I was freaking out.
But don't you think that helps you? Now you've gone through this rally.
Oh, I'm glad but now this rally is getting really expensive for me. Between the
Two transmissions.
between the car burning down, my first ever legitimate tree crash, Pennsylvania, I've got some homework to do.
Well, one thing, you probably did a better job by hitting a group of small trees versus one big one. I know you did lots of damage to your car, but hitting one big solid tree versus, because I think when you hit those group of trees, they flexed a little bit.
Oh yeah, and it moves, and you can see it. Like the car moves forward and back. And I talked to Preston, and we had a 6G. It was up to a 6G, and you see my head and everything move and bobble, and I'm still a little sore. But yeah, I think of my car was still movable, so in our normal press on regardless attitude, I was still trying to go. Right?
I know, I seen you trying to get
So I'm reverse, and I can't get back up off the lip of the edge of the road, just like Ohio. So I'm like, all right, it worked last time to go deeper into the woods. So I go left side around the trees, and there was a berm in there that I should have got out of the car and checked where I was going. And I got stuck on that berm. And the impact wrench that we had from Ohio, my car had been here at Team O'Neill the whole time. We didn't probably do the full reprep. We should have. We didn't charge the impact battery.
Rookie mechanic move.
So I wasn't prepared to be able to get the car jacked off again and being able to go and and do that. So ultimately it was I learned a lot this weekend. From Saturday, you found some amazing pace on Saturday afternoon, and there was a lot that there was some stuff on social media. Guys were commenting about your pace on the afternoon of Saturday, and like Tim's back and showing all these young guys. But how was Saturday for you? And after you passed me, and like you set some really great times. So like, what was that like in the car?
Well, as I said, I'm faster at the end because I have time to work out the notes, So me and Kate were doing really well, and I felt like I could just go faster. If the notes aren't right, I'm not going to go flat out. I'm at the point in my life I don't need to hurt myself or my car.
Right.
So I want to make sure that the car is right, the tires are right, the co-driver's right. Everything has got to be right on for me to commit.
Yeah.
And back in the day when, I was competing at very, very competitive, I would drive at 80% throughout most of the rally. And then near the end, the last 2 or 3 stages, if I was within half a minute of somebody and I wanted to beat them, take that next position, that's when I would really try hard.
Oh, interesting.
So
Okay.
it was sandbagging, but
you knew yourself. And I mean, attrition, basing rally and attrition is a great strategy, right? A lot of people,
there's a percentage of them, half usually won't finish.
Right.
So, and there's no need to win by 8 minutes.
Right.
You only need to win by 1 second.
Yeah.
And most people, like LSPR is a rally where we're all battling right to the last stage. And the spectators like it too. You don't want to just, okay, I'm ahead now, I'll just putt to the finish. So for me, it's not just sandbagging. It's trying to get it all together. And I don't do enough rallies to stay on my game.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to like the way the AMX is set up. We've done a lot. And it's been a 5-year project. And the last 2 years have been trying to work out the little stuff. So now that I have most of the little stuff, and now I have a good co-driver that she's so new. She just knows exactly what I like to hear. I tell her, and she does it exactly. She doesn't really have an opinion about how anybody else does it. So
yeah.
I think it'll take a while. And then the next events for me will be I'm going to go to Finland in August, I hope.
That's awesome.
And then I'll have Mika, who's a really good navigator, and then hopefully LSPR. Oh, Tennessee.
Right. Yeah, so ideally for the timeline, August, you're going to do a Mitsubishi Galant rental car potentially, right?
Yep.
Is what you're looking at.
Yep.
And you'll have a local Finnish co-driver that we worked with at LSPR. If you guys...
And you have to go flat out everywhere over there. They'll call you a coward.
It is funny, when we were over there last year, it's like, it's not even worth starting the rally if you couldn't potentially win.
Right.
It's like, that's the mindset.
This is not just fun here.
Yeah. It's like, don't even start if you're not in a position to like actually win. It's like, wow, that's
right.
Totally
We
different.
don't send the ROTC to battle.
Yeah. And then September, we're going to do Tennessee, and then hopefully October, we'll do LSPR. So you're going to have a good...
I'm not sure which vehicles. I'm probably going to want to drive the rally golf for most of it.
That's perfect. So the other thing about Pennsylvania, it's known the waste management jump. Did you you got a chance to hit it in the afternoon?
I did, and you remember I asked Dan Downey, because I'd seen his BMW in the air last year. I'm like, well, he must know how to fly.
Yeah.
What is the number? I know there's always a speed for the jump, and he was honest. He said it's 80.
Yeah. And it helped me. I didn't get that note on the first pass, so I hit it at 89.
And you landed on the
Lori
bumper.
got the picture. Thank you, Lori, for getting that picture for us. But yeah, I definitely, I flew. It felt great, that first half of the jump, and I was like in the right spot, and the road falls away, and it just starts to, like, the blue sky turns to brown dirt, and I'm like, oh man. And it hurt. Like, I felt it in my butt when we hit.
It's hard on it's hard on the dentures too.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But man, the car still stayed true, and we drove it out and ended up finishing really well. So my wife got this video, and my kids got to see me jump the car for the first time, which was really cool.
On the bumper. So yeah, I think. There we go, right there. There's a good picture.
So
do not do that. And that was 90 miles an hour, right?
89, and then I hit it again at 80. I had Glenn just stop giving me notes and just tell me the speed.
That's exactly what I did. Count it down. I was like, but with my car, it was interesting. It would be like 70. Okay, 95. Oh no, 80. And I did like 79 or something. But it was just, I'd hit the brakes, and she couldn't believe how much speed you dump off with just touching the brakes a little bit.
Right.
But I think I could probably do it at 90. That car flies so well.
I did the whole left foot brake thing because I didn't want to get my car unstable, so I kept full throttle, and all I did was just add a little more left foot braking to just try to scrub some speed, and then kind of right before the jump, release the brake and flew nice right over. And then the other thing I learned about flying is trying not to be full throttle on landing, so I don't break my axles, which I did that testing here at the rally school. So I've had enough airtime now that I've been actually able to think about the lift, land without the throttle on.
You don't want the shock load of the spinning tire stopping suddenly.
Right. So I've been thinking about these things a little bit more, which is
You're being better with your vehicle too, I noticed.
mechanical sympathy is getting expensive, so I'm trying to.
You're learning the hard way,
right?
And you struggle with some of the mechanical side,
Yeah, just understanding the limits of a control arm and the way the pieces work together. And the thing I'm really still struggling with is shifting properly every single time. I can see it now, which was really cool on Saturday when my gear was breaking, my gearbox was breaking. So I lost third gear, I lost fourth gear, I lost fifth gear, and so I had first, second, and sixth. And it was like, I knew moving between those gears was gonna be bad, right? So I was in second for as long as I could, and we get to this crest, and we're coming down a hill, and I'm like, I gotta take the chance and move to sixth. So I got into sixth, and we were down the hill in sixth, so I got up to like 80 miles an hour with 3 gears, and then I lose sixth. So I get it into second gear, and I know like every time I move, little pieces of metal are flying around in my gearbox.
Losing your gears.
So I'm just committed to second gear, and we'll finish the rally in second gear. And that's when I see you, and I got passed first by a Subaru, and then you come up in my rearview mirror, and there's this little turn off on the left, so I go off on the left side and you go flying by, and Glenn and I both were like, whoa, you were just moving.
I was showing off a little bit. I'm like, see you later, sucker.
It was great. We loved it.
I think the mechanical side, for me as a mechanic, I've rebuilt a lot of transmissions. I know what it looks like inside. More and more of you guys that aren't mechanics need to like take a transmission apart with a mechanic. And I know we've had the mechanic spiel on one of these videos, and that helps a lot.
Yeah.
So I think your mechanical sympathy is going to come from more knowledge.
Right. And that's what I've tried to teach as much of our community as possible, is just thinking about how the car works, because that's been my biggest weakness, right? I've been able to do a lot and learn a lot from you guys. And so being able to learn, every time I learn something, I want to try to teach our community that, because I didn't understand how the gearbox worked, and I didn't understand
clutch also. Don't
Right.
slip the clutch, and when you release the clutch.
Well, and just the heat management too of a car, and the brakes, and the first time you ever lose your brakes, and how scary that is. And now that I've lost them so many times, it's not even scary to lose your brakes anymore. But it's just, how do you deal with it at that moment in time?
You just don't slow down.
Well, that helps. Honestly, that's how I've learned how to manage my heat and my brakes, is stop braking so much, right? You just brake hard, straight line brake into a corner, and like brake in the turn if you have to, but then get back off those brakes, because you need the
amount
air.
of time on the brakes that makes them hot.
Right.
Brake hard and short. It's a Mount Washington. You got to stop, brake hard, let off. If you stop, let them cool off.
Right.
People ride the brakes all the way down the brake line. They're going to lose their brakes in no time.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate everyone joining us for this breakdown of our rally. We look forward to hearing about your adventures in Finland. That's going to be crazy. So we'll have to do some
they're hard on you.
content about
They
that.
expect go big or go home.
And then come meet us in Tennessee if you guys want to come see a rally. Tim and I will both be down at the Overmountain Rally, kind of out of Johnson City, Bristol, Tennessee area. So if you guys want to come meet us, we've got some posters, we've got stickers. We're trying to meet more people. We'll let, if any kids can sign my rally car. So my rally car will be put back together, and we'll have that happening. So come meet us.
Any old people can come sign my car.
Anyone over 65 can.
You have to be over 65 to sign my car.
Perfect. You have to be under 18 to sign. The guys in the middle, you'll just have to suffer
They're
with.
going to have to get old or young.
They'll have to get their own rally car, actually. That's what it is.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys so much. We look forward to talking soon. Thanks.